CIO here at Zinkerz, and today I have the pleasure of talking with Natalie. So this is Natalie, and she has two children who are doing classes with us.
Yeah.
So we're just going to talk a little bit about her kids and the progress that they've made, and just her overall experience with Zinkerz. So Natalie, if you want to say hi.
Hi. My girls are Zoe, who's 9 and in 4th grade, and Amani, who is 6 and in kindergarten.
Great. So we connected. It's been a long time since we connected. It's been like 2 years.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I know we've been together for 2 years doing classes together. And if you could just tell us a little bit about where you were at when we connected, and what was the school situation, and what your girls were up to.
So our situation's a little different. Obviously, everybody throughout the pandemic switched over to virtual classes. We were living in New York City when the pandemic struck, and it changed everything for us. It moved us back home, Airbnb to Airbnb, but we did virtual school. My youngest wasn't in school yet, but she sort of got roped into school because, I mean, that's what the younger kids had to do. You had to keep them busy and quiet. And when we connected, we had bought our home here in Massachusetts and said we are staying in Mass. And we have a high-risk younger daughter, and we decided to homeschool. And for us, I think it's a little bit different in the situation because of the high risk, and we switched into homeschool. We wanted to build confidence in our now 9-year-old with math. But then on the other side, I wanted to make sure that I was using the tools through the same school system that we were living in. And we connected, and I thought it was incredible that you guys use the curriculum that the kids are using in school, that you guys were able to access Eureka Math, which is what we were doing. And I loved that. That's what sort of sparked my interest, and building the confidence. She wasn't lacking behind. She wasn't doing bad in math. She just felt like she wasn't good at math. And so the idea of bringing in a tutor that meshed with her personality, that was able to like make it fun and not make it like we're just doing homework, we're just getting through the materials. You had presented it like that you guys do like a little interview process. And I said, I think this is a little different than what I've seen in the past. And sort of something that would go with the personality of my kids, at least. Mm-hmm. So we started then. I remember it was in the spring. It was like towards the end of the school year, right?
Yep.
I can't, or maybe it was like a fall, who knows? But we said that we were going to try for like 6 sessions. I saw my child, who isn't very confident in math, isn't excited for math because she didn't feel like she was good at it. I saw her like get excited. Like she didn't want to miss them. She's like, can we add another session? I'm like, it was making it exciting. It was making it fun. She wasn't being told like, oh, you did it wrong, or this is the way that you should do it. It was like, let's compete, and let's, or how do you want to present this? And then I heard her, this is what sold me, is that I heard her tell her tutor, when she switched to a new tutor for, I don't remember what it was. I think somebody was going on vacation and we needed to switch to a new one. And she gets on the screen and she says, my old tutor taught me this to make it like more fun for me. Or she said, I work better when we do it this way. And this is what my old tutor taught me. And I was like, my quiet, like not say anything, 8-year-old at the time was telling her new tutor, like, this is how I work better. She figured out not just how to be confident and excited about math, but how does she learn it better? How does she soak it in easier? And I think that the tutor had a really big part. Homeschool is hard. Teaching 3rd and 4th grade math now, like never. It's just so much. It's so different than what we were taught. And so having somebody that I could say, hey, we did this today. There was like tears. We don't know I don't know if she absorbed any of it. I don't know if she gets it. I don't know if I get it. Mm-hmm. And having somebody twice a week that I know would not just get the lesson down, but make it fun, make sure that she's retaining the information. And Another piece that I really loved, I think I'm jumping ahead, but another piece that really struck me as why I kept going is that the feedback. At the end of your sessions, I get an email and it says, we went over this, her attitude was this, we got this done. And it didn't feel, I don't know, it didn't feel judgy. It didn't feel like, oh, she's not getting this and she's not. It was like, oh, these are the things we covered. This is how she approached it. And next week we're going to work on this. And in like our first trial sessions, to see that feedback really made me like, oh, I love this because I can take this. I can, number one, store it for my information for when we pass in all of the curriculum to the homeschool, to the superintendent. I kept all of that in case we had to go back and, it really details the things that we've covered. And I love that. I love feedback and getting it in a way that it doesn't take me an hour to read through. Right. And that I can store them in a folder and go back to it. And also I passed in a lot of it to her teacher. We're back in public school this year. So we did a full year and a half of tutoring through you guys and then went into public school. And I got to pass all of that in. All of the, how does it work? How does she work the best? What did she learn? What did she struggle with? And all of those things I was able to pass forward to her teacher in fourth grade in a classroom now.
That's great. I love that, like all the little things that we do that we don't always talk about and present to people are things that you're finding super helpful. Even I know you mentioned we had to switch tutors, and obviously that's not ideal, but I know they had been together after a long time. And, my hope is that
we switched to a tutor that she's still so excited about. And she hadn't had many male teachers. And I think at first she was like, as kids are with any type of change, especially my kids with change. But I saw her, tell him or stand up for herself in terms of what works best for her. I saw that she retained something from her old tutor and she passed it on to this new one. And she doesn't want to let go of Scott. Like she loves that time. She's in a musical this year and she has like music, rehearsals. And I was like, we can drop it down and you don't have to do it until we're done with the musical rehearsal. She's like, no. I will eat my dinner really fast so that I could do my tutoring session. And for a mom, who had to go through homeschooling, third grade math, and for her to be excited about it in fourth grade is like everything. And then we get to my kindergartner who had never been in a classroom, who was 3 when the world shut down for COVID, and was roped into the whole mama school, we used to call it. And, her goal when she started, I said, you don't have to do it because she was 4 and I'm like, you don't have to do the tutoring, but if you want to, she's like, I want to learn to read like Zoe. That was her goal. And that's what I said to you. I said, well, her goal is she'd love to read independently. We went into kindergarten this year, and I'm going to skip because she loves her tutor. She has so much fun. She's memorizing sight words, doing phenomenal. For me as a mom, I'm like, oh, she's amazing. But she goes into kindergarten, and this is the first few weeks of school she did. They do benchmark. I forget the name of I think it's through Lexia that they do some benchmark testing to see where they're at so that they can see in each of the quarters how they improve or what they need to work on. She went in and she scored like way above, like for the middle of first grade level for literacy, and for comprehension and all of the things that, Katie really in 25 minutes, which is a lot for for a child who's been in school all day. 25 minutes, she's like cramming all of this stuff in a fun way. They play games. She gets to pick, a color for the pen that circles the words, and then she memorizes these sight words. I think she has like 250 sight words that she knows completely and is reading books to her class. And this is a kid that never went to school was never in a classroom, was never in a preschool. She's also high risk, so she's wearing still a mask in school. And yet because we had a year and a half before before kindergarten started, a year and a half of your, we don't even like to call it tutoring. She just calls it her teacher, like her teacher time and her school time. She had this 25 minutes twice a week, fun, never felt like a chore. And she went into kindergarten, like, way above where she would have been. I mean, I think reading to me comes easy. And I think that teaching that came easy. So they see me read and they want to, and they get excited. But I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to hold her accountable. She wanted to do it for her teacher. And she goes into kindergarten, and I was worried because this is the kid that has never been in a classroom, has never had to sit still for so long. And her teacher's like, she's a model student. She can read to her class in the first weeks of school. She's reading her Bob books and memorizing words, teaching her friends how to sound out things and vowel teams. Like, she is doing phenomenal. And I owe it really to the patience and the creativity of her tutor.
That's great to hear. I mean, the biggest thing for this age group, especially, this is our fundamentals courses where, yes, it's great to see them, score really high. It's great to see that progress, but to see their motivation and just to know that they're confident in it. So they might not get a perfect score on everything, but they have the confidence and they know, I can do this. I can attack this math problem. I can figure out how to read this word. Like, that's what we really love about these younger courses that we offer, because it's not so much test based. Obviously, we like to see the scores go up, but
totally
getting them excited to learn and to be challenged. And how do you attack a problem as a student?
Totally. I think that if I would have, I say this all the time to my husband. I say, if we would have had this with Zoe in kindergarten for math, when we saw that she just wasn't as confident, it was just not her thing. And I mean, she can read at a 7th, 8th grade level and can spell words she's a full year younger than all of the kids in her classroom because of the New York cutoffs. So right. Zoe is just turned 9 and she's in 4th grade, and her teacher's like, her ability to absorb information is like, way above. We knew she was academically ready, but if she would have had somebody like a Katie or a Scott that made it excited, built that confidence, and it would have been very different for her this year. But I also think that if we wouldn't have done the last year and a half, I think we would have been in such a different spot where she's keeping up with her after homeschooling and doing it at her own pace and, spreading out the modules and making it work for us at homeschool. She's keeping up with her classmates and she's doing phenomenal, and she's retaining the information and she's getting excited and using those tools that she's learned in those 55 minutes twice a week. She's using those tools in the classroom and she's telling her teacher about the tutors. And the same goes for Amani. All of the parents in her classroom they're like, they're in New York. It's like a normal thing to have tutoring from kindergarten. Like you have but here the parents aren't used to that. And so I've recommended that. And I'm like, I definitely owe it to her, her wanting to learn it. That was her goal. I didn't want to force it. Like, she's so young. She should be having fun and learning to be in a classroom rather than but she does not want to quit it. She wants to do that. And she comes home from school, she has her snack and she's ready to see Miss Katie. And I think that I would have done it completely different if I had to go back for Zoe, but I'm so glad that Amani, who is a pandemic scholar, like she spent those years that she could have probably been in a classroom in a preschool and learning with her peers. She got to be with Miss Katie and learn all of that she's building that framework. And I think one of the things that I say this a lot on my blog and with parents is that the pandemic taught me that I get to be so involved in what they're learning, and that I can ask questions, that I can look up the curriculum, that that having a tutor doesn't mean that they're behind, and that you shouldn't just go to a tutor to catch them up, or that they're not doing well, or it could be something that they love and they excel at, that they could have somebody that loves and excels at it too, and have that connection with another adult that isn't their teacher, that isn't their parent, that helps them learn more about it or test them on it, or I just find that another grown-up that's not telling them what to do, that's making it fun in learning it, she's walking away. Both of them are walking away with so much more knowledge in a fun way, like in a lighter way. And I think that the pandemic definitely taught us that as parents in homeschooling and in virtual school, that there isn't just one way or another, and it shouldn't be when they're behind. I look forward to the many more years, and it's an investment, right? It's not, I say that to all the parents too, is that it's not cheap to do, but that you see the difference in the classroom. And I just sat down yesterday with my fourth grader, with Zoe, and her teacher's like, you wouldn't have even realized that she did only virtual school and homeschool last year, because she can keep up with everything, and she's absorbed the information from third grade. And so we're sold on it for sure, and have enjoyed it too. I think that I don't have to force my kids to do it is a plus.
I mean, it's so great to hear that on our end. And obviously we love that they've found awesome tutors that they're paired with. And like, I just love hearing about like your overall experience. Do you have any advice for parents of younger kids who might be in similar situations, or might just be concerned about where their kids are at, whether they're behind or they're not being challenged?
I think that my biggest advice, and I'll go back to what I learned during the pandemic and being involved in what they're learning, is ask the questions. 90% of teachers, 95% of teachers, maybe even more, are more than willing to sit down and show you the curriculum, let you take the book home, or you can order them. DM me and I can send you all of the used bookstores that I used to buy all of the curriculum for last year. Ask the questions, see what they're learning, watch it, look at it, and reflect that at the dinner table. Reflect that at when you're playing, and figure out, is there some way that I could do it? We do our sight words, even though the teacher doesn't make you bring them home. If there's a couple that she's struggling with, we keep them on her nightstand. And I know that at bedtime, she loves that one-on-one time. I'm not thinking of dinner, and I'm not thinking of all the things. And I can sit and we can go through the sight words, or we can skip count. And so figuring out what it is that they're actually learning in school, not from them, because from my daughter, she has choice time and she paints and has lunch, and then it's time to go home. So ask the questions in the classroom to the teacher, or even to the principal, or whomever, depending on who you have that contact with. Ask the questions, look at the curriculum. How can you go through that curriculum at home? Or, you know, if they're not doing well in something, or they're finding it challenging, or they're not being challenged enough. Sometimes in a classroom of, I think my daughter has 23 kids in her classroom, one teacher in kindergarten for that many kids, she may not have that one-on-one time or that time to reach out and say, oh, I don't know if she's being challenged, or she already seems to know that, or she doesn't seem to know that. So if you know the curriculum and you're not quizzing them, but going through it at home, you can see, right? If you know what to ask them and what to know from the teacher. That would be number one. So figuring out what the curriculum is, following along, how can you help? And then the second thing is that I think that having somebody else that can talk to them, having a tutor, having even just a babysitter that's watching them when they're learning, when they're reading, when they're looking at sight words, when they're doing basic math in a workbook. We love those. We have so many workbooks that we use so that I can see the ones that she's skipping over, or the ones that she's struggling with, and we can just spend a little bit more time. I think that's the thing that we don't have is the time, but when you can find that time that they learn really well, is it in the morning at breakfast time, or is it at bedtime, to go through that curriculum and help them balance what they're learning in the classroom. I think that, and then the other part is just building that relationship with the teacher, where you don't feel, sometimes I feel like when I would email, especially in kindergarten, like I felt bad emailing. I felt bad calling or stopping in to chat with the teacher because, oh, my kid is doing well. She's fine. She's behaving okay, not having those issues. The teacher's so busy with other things. But we get to have that relationship. You have to build that relationship. You have to make that connection. So keeping in touch with the teacher even if you just pop in to do a craft or volunteer to bring in snacks for the classroom, or just build that connection so that the teacher feels like, oh, what I was noticing is this, or what this could be helpful. And another thing, that when we were looking for tutors for Zoe, we asked locally, and there was just like one person that everybody uses. I would say shop around for things. Figure out that one of the things that I learned the best about, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, but is that you guys really work hard at pairing a tutor with a student, and that I wish we could do that with teachers sometimes, because my kids are sensitive and my kids need gentle love, and they need, I do too, a little sugar with my coffee. Like I need it to be kind and respectful. And then some kids need more boundaries, and they need a tougher voice, and they need somebody that's going to maybe quiz them more or time them or things like that, where figure out the match that is best for your kid and shop around. Because it doesn't have to be black and white. And then that's not how they learn. We're learning so much about just how we can shift and change things in the classroom. There's alternative seating. There's, fidget toys. We've realized that the kids don't learn black and white, and neither should it be in how we support them.
I think that's really important. And I'm always saying that, especially at this age, like we have to be the biggest advocate for them so that they can in turn advocate for themselves. So it's
100%.
It's so important. And I also just love watching you on Instagram and the stories you post of the girls during the lessons. I know sometimes you're sneaking around the corner.
I know they don't like it. Zoe especially. But it's so fun to watch. I get so excited when they're excited to learn. I know if some people keep saying like, oh, it won't always be like that, but I hope it is. I hope that I hope that parents know that we can support our kids to make learning fun. And that sounds really corny, but we can make it fun. We can make it work for them. And that that testing and grades and all that should be is showing you what you don't know yet.
Right.
We don't look at grades in our house. And I mean, I want her to be working hard for it, but I love to see that it's going to be something that we're working as a team. We're on the same team. The tutor's on our team. Your teacher's on our team. And we can get to a really good point and make it where you're enjoying it. And there's no tears. If I can compare the beginning of the pandemic through second grade to when we started with you guys, and where the tutor was taking over the lessons for us a couple times a week, the change in my child from the beginning to now, different kid, totally different kid. When they're approaching math, is it always perfect? No, because there's new stuff and it's always going to change. But I know that I can shoot an email to Scott and I can say, we've been covering this and she's skipping over this step, or she's forgetting to do this. Can we concentrate on that? Can we double check the computation and have her double check it? I can work directly with her tutor on the things that, on a way to make it more fun, on the things that she's maybe that's new or that she's struggling with.
Well, it's awesome to hear. So I just want to thank you so much for coming and talking to me a little bit about your experience. Just so,
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This was fun. I feel like I talked all of it, but I had a lot to say. I get excited about our partnership. I get excited about what it's done for my kids and
Mhm.
what I mean, I think about even just testing and MCAS and SATs, and I'm excited that I have this in my tool belt that I don't have to take responsibility for that. So whatever
Well,
I can do to help them, that I
yeah.
don't have to do.
Well, we love working with the girls, and again, on my side of things, it's just amazing to get this feedback because we don't always get to have this one-on-one time with.
Yeah,
So
definitely. And I like if anybody has any questions or wants to talk through any of it, please feel free to reach out. I'm here. Um, I'm here to talk about it all. So they can reach out to me.
awesome. Well, hopefully we'll be in touch soon, and we can maybe do another update. And
Yeah,
I hope the girls are doing well.
thank
And
you.
we're gonna sign off now,
All
and
right.
I'm sure everyone will be hearing from us soon.
Bye.